Good evening and welcome to Gabriella's Dark Readings, or at least bedtime stories based off of the Vlad the Impaler Dracula historical figures. So for today or this evening, it's not even daytime, but anyway, for this evening, let's call it, we're going to be talking about Queen Mother Elizabeth Szilagyi, also known as the Queen of Swords. So this woman was a very important figure, you know, because she was a Hungarian noblewoman and the wife of John Hunyadi and the mother of, where's that card? Matthias Corvinus, King of Hungary. So, it's really interesting how all of these, historical figures are all intertwined, right? So, Elizabeth was a daughter of Ladislaus Szilagyi and members of two influential Hungarian families who were loyal to King Sigismund, and I believe I have him right here. Wait. Well, at the time it was, but anyway, here's Emperor Sigismund, but at the time, King Sigismund of Hungary during the 15th century. So, Elizabeth had many other siblings, stuff like that, but there was one very important sibling, Michael Szilagyi, who was, including, being regent of Hungary until he faces death in 1456, and this is where he faces his death, sad but true. But anyway, we're going to move these two away from. So after the death of John Hunyadi, his oldest son, his oldest son had nothing to do with her, offspring at any time, but his oldest son, Ladislaus Hunyadi became head of the House of Hunyadi till he faced his own execution after murdering Count Ulrich, the counselor of the King Ladislaus V of Hungary. So, then Elizabeth's only son, Matthias Corvinus, where did that card run off to? of Hungary, was taken to Prague as captive by the young king because of the death of the counselor of King Ladislaus V. So both Elizabeth and her brother... So both, they negotiated the release of her son, Matthias at the time, who was elected King of Hungary in 1458. She became the mother of the king and had great influence on the kingdom. Matthias had an illegitimate son, so, we're going to be focusing on him for a moment. He had an illegitimate son named John Corvinus in 1473, who was sent off to live with Elizabeth, who more or less, took care of him and, helped him, will find the best teachers to educate and raise him with and stuff like that. But, the sad part is after the death of King Matthias, his son, never got a chance or, never became king of Hungary because of the procession of the nobleman and the widow of the monarch. But the thing is he did enjoy the titles and properties and battles until the end of his life. So Elizabeth lived in this area called Obuda most of her life and founded several monasteries and chapels and died around the year of 1483. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Whoever, this person is, Thomas McHenry, it just seems like it's so interesting to see all of these cards and all of these historical figures, all just connected, when you're just only grabbing cards like the King of Swords, the Queen of Swords for that matter, or even, the Knight of Swords, maybe that has something to do with how they're all just combined, under the sword element for that matter. But either way, it's really, interesting, to hear, how all of these people are actually kind of, it's like, whether it's through osmosis or serendipity or whatever it is that, around the same time of Vlad the Impaler that, this side was also happening around the time that Vlad and, the Impaler was either being captured or going his merry way, being, ruler of Wallachia at the time and stuff like that. So... But anyway, so here's a brief, snippet about who the Queen Mother Elizabeth Szilagyi was and how she was actually the wife of John Hunyadi and stuff like that. So, but anyway, I'll leave it at this. And, after this, I'm going to be talking a little bit about who this one princess is. But anyway, I want to thank you all so much for joining me this evening. I love you guys incredibly. If you guys are interesting, always, feel free to, to subscribe and join this channel. Or if you guys just enjoy just watching the channel, I mean, it's 100% your prerogative and stuff like that. But I just want to thank you guys again so much for joining me. And I love you guys incredibly.